Throughout Halo, specifically in the Covenant, there have been many different species of aliens, and within those species, there are some subspecies. The most notable species to have different subspecies are the Kig-Yar, better known as the jackals. The three subspecies that you see throughout the games and throughout different forms of media are the Rutian jackals, the Ibishan jackals, and those jackals, also known as the skirmishers. I don't know how to pronounce them, so just there's the name. We'll start off with the Rutian jackals, which are the first jackals that were introduced into the Halo universe. They were first seen in Halo Combat Evolved and were in Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, Halo Reach, and most recently they were in Halo Infinite.
But I went to Nipple Academy together, and he's dead. Ow!
So, these jackals typically are around 6'3", so 6 feet 3 inches, or around 190 to 203 centimeters. Their average weight is around 88 kilograms to 93 kilograms. Their skin color is typically a light brown or kind of tannish color, and their hair is a blackish brown. Now, these jackals have a slightly avian appearance, but are also, reptilian. Definitely, I'd say their snouts are a little bit like a reptile's. They also have very sharp teeth, which are quite like a lot of dinosaur fossils that we have found, most specifically, and probably what they got their most inspiration from would be something like a raptor. As you can see, they have hairs on their heads and on, it looks like, their elbows. Their feet are very strange. They look almost like something like, they really do look more like a dinosaur than like these bird-like feet. They are not clawed at all. They have three big toes, and they've got these kind of like stubby, bony, I guess probably just toes. Their hands do somewhat resemble talons, although the fingers are quite short. So to be a talon, they would have to be. They look more like almost like if a lizard had talons, which I guess makes sense because they are supposed to be resemblant of those raptors and those early dinosaurs, which were somewhat avian and somewhat reptilian as well. Now, of course, they are born on the homeworld, the Kig-Yar homeworld of Eon, and most specifically, they were born on the Root supercontinent on that planet. They are not the oldest subspecies. In fact, that would actually go to the Ibishan. The Ibishan are the oldest and the most closely related to the common ancestor that all three Kig-Yar species share. They are, once again, around 190 to 203 centimeters, weigh around the same average weight, so 88 kilograms to 93 kilograms. But however, their skin is much different. It is normally a dark beige to almost like a dark brown type of color, and as you can see in the picture and hopefully in the gameplay, it looks like their skin is much more scaly and bumpy. You can see on their necks there's a lot of scales and weird kind of like bumps that just they look almost like calluses. Their fingers are much more talon-like than I'd say the Rutian jackals, but they're definitely the most reptilian of the three. Their mouth especially looks like something. It looks like some sort of prehistoric nightmare creature. Oh, I forgot to comment on the eyes in the Rutian jackals, but the Rutian jackals had very big, like round, large eyes, and it makes them look much more reptilian, like exactly like raptor eyes almost. If you were to take raptor eyes and make them a bit bigger, that's what I'd think they would look like, and that's almost definitely where they got the inspiration from. The Ibishan have very, very tiny little eyes that look, once again, extremely reptilian. Their tongue, which you can sometimes see, is kind of gross, and to be honest, probably more reptilian than avian. Definitely their teeth, if you look at their teeth again, like in their skull, are very, very reptilian. There's almost really no resemblance of the avian appearance at all. Like, these are almost entirely reptilian creatures. Their toes, I'd actually say that their toes are more avian looking than the Rutian jackals, although that may just be the armor that they wear. They were born on the Ibish supercontinent or continent. I think it might just be a regular continent. Yeah, it is just a regular continent found on the Kig-Yar homeworld of Aeon. And that brings us to the final subspecies of the jackals, which would be the skirmishers. The Tavoan, or Tavoan, or Tavo, I don't know how to pronounce it, also known as the skirmishers, are the most avian-looking subspecies of all of the jackals. The skirmishers were only ever in Halo Reach, but they have been in other forms of Halo Media. These are 100% without a doubt the most avian-looking Kig-Yar across all of the three subspecies. They are the only ones to prominently, or just at all, contain feathers on their heads and also their arms. Their beaks are much more avian looking than reptilian looking. However, their face definitely looks more reptilian. It almost resembles something of, to me at least, it kind of looks like a tortoise a little bit, because it's very like, it looks very armored. It looks like they have some sort of like, it just looks very protected, very armored, as you can see. Now, these feathers range from blackish gray to a kind of reddish, orangish red, which is probably just a distinction between their different, the different ranks within the Covenant. But what really distinguishes subspecies, besides their very unique use of feathers, which again makes them very avian. Not to mention, by the way, their talons or their hands are much more avian looking, and so are their feet. I mean, these really do look like they are just about like they were probably on their way to becoming much, much more bird-like than the Ibishan or the Rutian jackals. These are the most avian out of the three. But what really distinguishes them, because in gameplay and just in practice, whatever, the Ibishan and the Rutian jackals are pretty much identical. I mean, they sound a bit different, they look different and all that, but they still function the same. They can either be snipers on the battlefield in the Covenant, or they can be infantry, like up close, carrying these shields in their hands and fight you up close with a plasma pistol or a needler or some sort of light armament. However, the Tavoan, or the skirmishers, are the most unique in their gameplay and in their role in the Covenant. They are incredibly fast. They are the fastest out of the three jackal species, and they typically don't have shields. Instead, they like to run in large packs and kind of like they go through very quick attacks. They try not to be shot at much, of course, because they don't want to die. And it's very interesting because they're just very fast. They're the same species, of course. They're all the same species, but they're a little bit lighter built as well. We do not have info on their weight, unfortunately, but we can assume at least that they're probably lighter than the Ibishan or the Rutian jackals. Also, these jackals can be seen, or the skirmishers can be seen wielding much more higher caliber weapons when they're not just typical snipers or marksmen. They, in Halo Reach at least, can be seen carrying a needle rifle, of course, a focus rifle, and of course your typical needler and plasma rifle and plasma pistol. They also can hold a Kig-Yar point defense gauntlet, but that's only for specific skirmishers, a specific rank of skirmisher. So, overall, the three subspecies of the jackals are very interesting, especially from a biological standpoint, of course, because they have major differences between the three. Of course, you have the Rutian jackals, a good mix between avian and reptilian. A little more on the reptilian side, definitely inspired by, I think at least, by the real world raptors that used to walk around. And probably inspired by much more like older reptilian looking birds. I'd have to say, like, this might sound weird, but I think like ostriches does kind of look a little bit older. I don't know, I'm just kind of spitballing here, I'm not biology major, but maybe a little bit of that mixed in with the reptilian nature of the raptor. Of course, you also have the Ibishan, who are much more reptilian, almost borderline on like just a plain dinosaur. Like, that's really what they look like. Their reptilian features are very strong, and they really do not have much or really any avian features. And finally, the Tavoan jackals, they are incredibly avian. They of course, I forgot to add this, but they grew up on the Tavoan or the Tavoa, I don't know how to pronounce it, subcontinent on their home planet. Then, of course, you have the skirmishers, who are the lightest and the most avian-like of the three. They're also the fastest and the most unique ones, at least in terms of gameplay, that you see in Halo. So, I hope this was biology enough for this. I'm not really, I'm not some biology mastermind, and I'm really working on limited info because there's not like this huge in-depth wealth of knowledge on every little single, cell and biological mechanism in the jackals. Of course, I'm sure better lore experts, people that know the story of Halo better than I do would probably be able to explain it better than me, and people that know biology better than I do would be able to explain it better than me. But this is about the best I could do, so I hope you liked it, and yeah.